Welcome back, everyone. According to the governor of Benue State, Alia, Benue has witnessed a surge in violent attacks, particularly targeting specific local government areas like Kwande, Ukum, Kasinala, and some other local governments, necessitating urgent and coordinated action. This heightened insecurity primarily stems from conflicts between herders and farmers. Going by the recent report, about 40 persons were reportedly killed in different local government areas. Meanwhile, Governor Alia announced plans to organize a statewide security summit as part of efforts to tackle the growing insecurity across the state. Tonight, joining me to discuss the state of insecurity, challenges and efforts of the state government, as well as other matters arising in Benue, is the Chief Press Secretary to the Benue State Governor, Tersoo. Good evening, Mr. Kula. Thank you very much for joining us on the program tonight. It's good to have you on the program.
Good evening.
Good evening to you.
You're welcome.
All right. So we have a lot of issues to talk tonight, but let's talk about tonight. But let's start with insecurity. Benue State is underdeveloped, and insecurity remains a big challenge in the state, like the biggest challenge. And the truth is, this didn't start with this present administration of Governor Alia, but there's been increasing spate of attacks since the last quarter of 2024. Some say the killings never stopped. It has just been underreported. But the last few months, these killings have continued unabated without proper intervention. What exactly is happening? Are these bandits? Is this ethnic cleansing? Is it the resurgence of herders-farmers clash? I want you to give us the backstory to these violent attacks in Benue State.
Yes, like you rightly said, His Excellency, the Governor of Benue State, inherited a precarious security situation where very many people were in the IDP camps following a series of attacks by armed herders. But when he took oath of office, the governor made it very clear to everybody that security of life and property is going to be the cornerstone of his blueprint. And that he did not leave anybody in doubt when he said the ball rolling. First, the governor called for a stakeholders meeting of herders and their leaders to find out what is actually the problem. That was the decision of the Security Council in the state. A committee to that regard was set up, and these interactions were done, and assurances were given to the governor by leaders of these herders that it is criminal herders that come from outside that are perpetrating the insecurity in the state. And they were ready to join hands with His Excellency to checkmate that and possibly bring that to a stop. And due to their promise, it so happened that we didn't notice or see any attacks from herders. Up to some point, the state started noticing the influx of herders. And before you understand, the attacks resumed. In the first instance, it was skeletal. But the security agents were always on point because His Excellency created a feedback mechanism that anytime it starts, it is nip in the bud because the information gets to him, and he will now direct security agencies to go after the aggressors. But then, just before the last month of the last year, which is 2024, this wave of attacks resumed. and then gradually they are gathering momentum now. And so you see a situation where a local government is attacked and security agents are directed to move to that local government, but before you understand, another local government is attacked. And just like the governor said himself, the modus operandi now is more of people coming to grab land because they attack people and the people move away and they take possession of the land. That is exactly what is happening in Benue State today.
All right. So, Mr. Kula, when
just
you
like
say
you
that...
asked,
okay. So quickly, when
just
you
like
say...
you asked.
Kindly hold on, Mr. Kula. So when you say... I mean, I heard you when you said part of the findings of the stakeholders was that these herders come from outside. Where is outside? What do you mean by outside? Are you talking about neighboring states?
Oh, yes. We have issues. If you remember, recently His Excellency called for the law prohibiting open grazing to be made a national law. This is because the law prohibiting open grazing is enforced in Benue, and the state government is doing everything possible to ensure that that law is enforced. However, if you look at the boundaries of the subnationals, you can't tell me that one state has a boundary that is fenced. No. And our boundaries are interwoven. And so you are implementing and enforcing a law that is only done in your own state, and another state is not concerned with that law. And so people come into that state, they are very comfortable, and then thereafter they enter your own state, cause mayhem, and then run back to such states. And you know that we are surrounded by Nasarawa State, we are surrounded by Taraba State, we are surrounded by Kogi State, we are bounded also even the Cameroon international boundary. And so it is a thing, it is no longer news that these bandits, these armed herders are coming in from other states to come and cause trouble and then run back to this state. Sometimes they cause trouble, people run away, and they take possession of the land. So that is exactly what is happening. So the people who are attacking us in Benue are not the usual herders that we know that will come and graze and go back. It is the criminal herders.
All right. And you've also talked about how hard it is for the state government to defend its borders. But the National Security Advisor has promised to deploy more security assets to the state to arrest this renewed wave of attacks in the state. But, you know, locally, what is the state government doing to protect its people?
Yeah, just like you rightly said, His Excellency is not resting on his hours to try and ensure that the people of Benue State are well protected. He has been in constant touch with the National Security Advisor. He has been in constant touch with the Chief of Defense Staff. Just last week, following this new wave of attacks, the Chief of Defense Staff sent a team of serving and retired generals to Benue State to have a first-hand information of what is happening in the state. And I can tell you that as far as the state and Nigerian society is concerned, nobody is allowed to carry arms except the conventional security outfits, agencies. And so you cannot move on your own. Yes, the governor recently inaugurated a kind of a vigilante force that is called Anyamyo. But then it is not in their powers to go all out on their own and begin to arrest people. They must work in sync together with the relevant security agencies, the legitimate security agencies, to be able to carry out this. But you see, this, from our observation, it is now very clear that even the federal forces, the security forces, are overstretched. They are overstretched. Because from what we say, I earlier told you, that, okay, for instance, as I speak with you earlier today, there were attacks in Kukum local government. By the time His Excellency directed the security agents to move to Kukum, and he swiftly moved to Kukum, and were able to repel these attackers, another attack from same criminal headers happened in Logo local government. And then before they push these people out to Taraba boundaries, they had to come back and face those that were perpetrating atrocities at Logo local government. So this is what is happening. The governor is not resting. If there's one governor in Benue State that has provided enough logistics and support and have put down strategies to be able to get feedback, to be able to be alerted as soon as a crisis start anywhere, it is Governor Hyacinth Alia, and he has been doing that.
Right, so Mr. Kula, you just talked about Ayam. I hope I pronounced that correctly. You said this is a new security outfit. So just to be clear, is this different from the Civil Protection Guard? And how empowered is this new security outfit?
Yes, they are well empowered. This is the Civil Protection Guard that we have. They are well empowered, especially because trucks were bought, vehicles where they can move swiftly to arrest situations, and motorbikes were also distributed to them. That was shown to the whole world to see when it was launched. So they are equipped. And like I said, that's just the end of it. Communication gadgets are provided for these people. That is why I told you that feedback mechanism is well provided for the people to be able to alert the authority as soon as there's something happening untoward in their own communities.
So I also remember that in the last quarter of 2024, Governor Alia admitted that about 8 local government areas in Benue State are on the front line of insecurity at the moment. In the face of these recent killings, has the number increased or reduced?
Of course, the number has not increased. We still have those local governments. We inherited more local governments that were prone to attacks. But today, it is the 8 local governments he told you about, and these are the 8 local governments that were struggling to ensure that we curtail this crisis in these places.
Another question I'd like to ask you is, as Mr. Governor been to these attacked communities, especially Otukpo, which has been in the news for about 2 months now, has Mr. Governor been there to assure the people of that local government that is with them?
Yes. Yes, the governor has been there on many occasions. Recently, he was there and he visited the paramount ruler of the Idoma people and addressed the Idoma people and assured them of his efforts and what the federal government too is doing to ensure this this crisis brought to a standstill. He was also on hand at Gwe West, headquarters at Naka, to talk to the people and assure them. In Ukum local government, he sent his deputy governor, the deputy governor, Barrister Sam Ode, who was at Ukum, and he spoke to the people. And Otukpo again, even yesterday, the deputy governor was sent to Otukpo again to talk to the people and assure them and then tell them what the governor is doing, the government of Benue State is doing to ensure they are well protected.
But who are those politicizing Benue insecurity as alleged by the governor?
Yeah, that's a very interesting one. I wouldn't want to delve much into that, but to answer you, insecurity has happened, and people are being attacked, people are getting killed and maimed. And what I would have wanted to, what I would have expected is that let us have this matter resolved, political or otherwise. However, because you have asked, I will delve into that. Now, we have a situation where people come to TV stations, people go to the media and talk about this insecurity and heap the entire blame on the governor. It all started some time ago when a letter emerged from only God knows that indicating that the governor invited headers from all over West Africa to come to Benue, that he is in charge now, and so they have the freedom to come and graze. And from what we gathered, some of these headers photocopied this letter and have it with them, showing people that don't joke with us, the governor has permitted us to come. This was strange. The governor had no idea of what these people were saying. We were able to dispel that. And everybody knows that there's no reasonable person who will come in and begin to call people, come and terrorize my people, I'm not in charge. Now, the second one, some people will come to the media, sit on TV, on radio, and he blames on the governor for not doing anything. But I just told you the efforts the governor has been doing, have been making. We have federal government appointees, federal legislators. We have all these people put together as stakeholders in the security of Benue State. But then, oftentimes, you see people coming to TV to say that the governor is not doing enough about security, the governor is not doing enough. None of them have ever come out to say that I went to see the governor to discuss this issue of insecurity concerning my constituency and he turned me down. I asked the governor to do this for my people, let's do this together, and he turned down. None of them have ever come to say that. However, they keep heaping blames on him. You see some aides of top government appointees at the federal level coming to sit on TV and blame the governor.
But Mr. Kula, the governor is the chief executive officer and is the chief security officer. So I think it's only normal for people to heap the blame on him. But I asked you that question because the immediate past governor of the state, Samuel Ortom, has criticized your principle. What Samuel Ortom has said is that in less than 2 years in office, Governor Alia's administration has overseen numerous mass burials, and this was in response to Governor Alia's accusation that his predecessor had failed to curb incessant mass killings during his tenure. So I wanted you to react to that. And part of what he said was also that Governor Alia has failed to empower the Benue State Civil Protection Guard, tasked with the responsibility of completing conventional security operatives' efforts in maintaining peace in the state.
In the first instance, let me put this direct to you. What Ortom said was basically a face saving. Ortom has nothing to talk about insecurity in Benue State. What was happening in Benue State that is different from what is happening now is that propaganda was elevated to the highest level. Nothing was happening while cries and noise was being made in the media. Worst of it all is that he also said that the governor is not implementing the anti-open grazing law. Yes. How true is this? Must everybody do exactly what Ortom was doing? What was actually the order of day at that time was that the security outfit that was organized by Ortom was not concerned with those who were breaking the law. They were basically concerned with the cattle that were there. Once they see cattle grazing openly, they go in, arrest these cattle, take them to wherever they wanted to take them, for the headers to go and pay the fine and collect them. Some accusations we heard were that once headers go there to collect their cows and pay the prescribed fee, often they say, yeah, 50 of my cows were taken, but when they went to collect it, they'll get what? 30. And then what they will know, the next thing they do is to come and attack the community where those cows were arrested. According to them, it is because the community reported them and this happened throughout the time Ortom was in government. There was no day cattle were confiscated and the communities were protected. That is why the RDPs kept swelling up, till the day he left office. Remember, before he left office, he kept telling us that Benue has 4 million people in IDPs. Go there to go back to Benue today and check how many people we have in IDPs. We know the data is there because IOM came in and conducted the census. And you have less than 1 million people in IDPs. So if you compare what is happening now and what was happening at that time, which one do you think is better for the people of the state? When we have 4 million or over 4 million people in IDPs, and now that we have less than 1 million in IDP. So there's nothing, they can go on, and that's exactly what you asked. They can go on and politicize the system.
But
then, it is unfortunate, anytime the headers or the aggressors attack, they are not asking you whether you voted for PDP or APC or ABGA. They are not asking whether you voted for Labour Party. They attack everybody. So the governor keep calling everybody that, look, do not politicize this. We are all in this. Come together. Let us try and stop this. Let us cry onto the federal government and do our possible best here for the federal government to listen to us, send people here who will come and curtail, stop these killings.
I hear you, Mr. Kula, and it's also interesting to hear you talk about IDPs because there are speculations out there that Governor Alia is also underreporting the number of IDPs in Benue State. But let me ask you this question directly. Is Governor Alia helpless?
Nobody is underreporting. I'm with you.
Yes. So is Governor Alia helpless at the moment? Is it okay to say that the governor is helpless at the moment?
No, the governor is not helpless. I told you that security is not a one-man show. There's no way you can stand up today, beat your chest and say, I'm going into the bush there and I will flush this people out. I will flush this people. No, it can't work. So security is a collective responsibility. And that is exactly what the governor is doing. I told you that he has been in constant touch with the National Security Advisor, and you also said the National Security Advisor said they are going to beef up security in Benue and these other violence-prone areas. And then I told you also that the Chief of Defense Staff just last week sent a contingent to go and have fact-finding of what was happening and what is on the ground. They went to Kwan, they went to Kum, went to Tukpo, Naka, all these places and spoke to the people before they now came back. And so we are very sure that the efforts the governor is doing so far, by the time the federal might comes in, we'll be able to have something done.
All right. And interestingly also, it looks like there's some level of sincerity, or there was some level of sincerity when the governor was seen acknowledging that some parts of the state had been under the siege of armed men, and it would require the collective efforts of all to tackle the menace of insecurity in the state. Yes, Governor Alia has been called a breath of fresh air. His supporters say he's taking a quiet but effective approach to tackling insecurity in Benue State. But sadly, the insecurity in the state continues to grow. But those on the other side say he's overwhelmed and that recent profiling of displaced persons in the state is an indication that the state needs help. And that was why I asked you that question directly. But you may want to respond to critics before. We need to go on a break, but quickly, I'd like you to respond to critics. All right, Mr. Alia, please go on.
You said I should respond to?
The critics, like I was saying, it was interesting to hear Governor Alia say that, or acknowledge that some parts of the state had been under the siege of armed men, and it would require the collective efforts of everyone to tackle this menace. And I also say that, as I said, yes, Governor Alia has been called a breath of fresh air, and his supporters say he's taking a quiet but effective approach to tackling insecurity in the state. But those on the other hand say is overwhelmed, and the recent profiling of displaced persons in the state is an indication that the state needs help. And that was why I asked you that question directly. If indeed the governor is helpless, but how do you respond to critics?
The governor is not helpless. The governor is not overwhelmed. I told you earlier, there's no human, there's no governor. We operate here under the law. There's no human that will sit in one place and say, I will go into the bush and flush these people out. Now, what does it mean to say somebody is overwhelmed? Is the governor not working? Is it because he was overwhelmed that he went to Naka? He went to all these places to talk to the people? Is it because he's overwhelmed that he called on the National Security Advisor to intervene? Is it because he's overwhelmed? Who can come out and say that I was able to fight the insecurity in my state alone without inviting people to come in? Who would have expected that Alia should take guns and daggers and go into the bush to fight in these invaders and marauding herdsmen? The governor is not overwhelmed. He's still working and doing everything that he swore to do for the people of the state. All right.
Mr. Tersoo, Kula, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll expand this conversation. This is Politics Tonight, everyone. Please stay with us.
Yeah, and as you rightly said, the executive order by the governor is still in force, and nobody is mining or doing any logging in that part of the state. In the entire state, there's nothing like mining or logging at the moment. And like I said, Kwande in particular is sharing borders with Cameroon, and then on the other side with Taraba State. And from information available, the invaders are coming from both the Cameroon and some of them coming through Taraba State to attack the people. And the governor said it yesterday, and you know that he is the chief security officer of the state, and the information available to him indicates that what the people are coming is nothing other than land grabbing.
Okay.
And that is why they are using the approach to kill, to make sure people are afraid, people are scared, and people will run away for them to occupy those lands for whatever reason they want. And I wouldn't want to agree with you completely that it's because of mining activities or gold is discovered in Kwande. If you say that, what is it that is discovered in Gwe West? What is it that is discovered in Otukpo that the armed raiders are now coming back to attack these areas?
And that was why I wanted some clarity from you. And thank you for that. So also there are some Nigerians who have faulted Governor Alia over events that stopped Mr. Peter Obi from visiting the state, saying the action is reprehensible, they say it's ungodly, it says autocratic and an abuse of office. So, I mean, speak to us directly. Why was Mr. Peter Obi stopped from coming into Benue State? How do you defend the governor's action?
You see, people jump into conclusions and make unfounded comments that sometimes are inflammable. Of course, the governor is the chief security officer of the state. We are discussing insecurity right now.
Yes.
And every reasonable human that knows the law or knows protocol believe that any high-profile personality that is supposed to visit Benue State must get the governor informed in the first instance and must be sure the governor respond to that inquiry or information, so that once you come in, you have to pay a case call maybe on the governor or maybe the primary rulers in the state. If the governor is not going to be around, he would delegate somebody to receive such high-profile person. And the governor simply made a pronouncement that it appears some people may want to use the misfortune of the people, especially in the wake of the renewed attacks on our communities, to make capital by coming into IDPs to somehow campaign.
Okay.
You know, when people are facing such misfortune, you don't use such areas to gain cheap popularity.
But was it clear?
It was not just
was it clear Okay.
I'm coming to that. It was not just to Peter Obi, and Peter Obi was not even mentioned in the statement the governor issued out through my office. Peter Obi was not mentioned. The statement simply said any high-profile person. If Peter Obi is saying that it was basically because of him they were saying this, is there any other high-profile person that has visited the state after Peter Obi was stopped, according to him? So, Peter Obi was not targeted or denied entrance into Benue. The governor said, at this point, we are grappling with issues of insecurity. I am busy with state actors trying to see what we can do to safeguard our people. Now, I don't want to receive any high-profile person in the state, particularly at this point that I'm very busy.
Right.
So, nobody should come in. And again, anyone who wishes to go to any IDP camp should let me know through
because Mr. Kula, because the information that management agency. Right, because the information that circulated was that the governor told him that he cannot guarantee his safety, and so he shouldn't come into Benue State. So I wanted to ask if it was clear
the governor did not say Peter Obi
was coming to the IDP. Kindly hold on, sir. Kindly hold on, sir. Kindly hold on. So I wanted to ask if it was clear that Mr. Peter Obi was coming into Benue State, was going to the IDPs for cheap popularity.
At the time this statement was issued out, nobody knew whether Peter Obi was coming to Benue to visit IDP camp. But then, I just told you, the statement which says the governor will not guarantee the security of anybody who just decided to come into the state and begin to visit places at will, was not directed at Peter Obi.
All right.
You can look at the statement.
All right.
It wasn't directed at anybody, but generally it was directed at any high-profile person that is coming to the state that needs to be protected by the governor. So Peter Obi was not targeted. Peter Obi was not stopped from coming to Benue. Maybe at the right time, he may decide to come when the right procedure is put on ground.
All right, Mr. Kula, there are concerned Nigerians asking Mr. President to declare a state of emergency in Benue State. Would this be the best decision for your state?
Yeah, that was where I was coming when you said some people were politicizing the entire saga, the entire security misfortune of the state at this point. We are not saying yes because it happened, so let it happen. The governor, like I said, is developing the state at supersonic speed, and everything is being turned around for good. In fact, the man came with a vision, and if you go to Benue now, you agree with me that he has actually demystified governance in less than 2 years. Now, when you say they should declare state of emergency, I don't get, because we have situations where people were killed in hundreds in that state. Nobody called for a declaration of state of emergency. We have a situation where people are killed in other states at the moment. Nobody is saying that state of emergency should be declared in such states. So why Benue? And who are the people making this calls? Who are the people making this calls? There are people who are supposed to come in partnership with the governor, come to the governor and say, what are we going to do? The governor, these are the same people that send their boys, their appointees, or their whatever, to come to the media and say that there's need. They sponsor press conferences and say, you will observe that this insecurity is happening. The governor is talking to the press, talking to the president and the relevant security agencies. They are here, they are top-ups. He's talking to them. But there are some indigenous of Benue who are occupying prime positions in this country. And they are very mute about it. They are not saying anything about it. Yes, he is the chief security officer of the state. But then, like I said, and like you know, you and I know, can he do it all alone? Which chief security will do it all alone? Who was not there that was not insecurity? Since the final resurgence of democracy in this country, Senator George Akume, who is the SGF now, was the governor. Similar things happened. At that time, there were attacks on Taraba and Nasarawa, and, you know, the history is there, well documented. When Governor Gabriel's came in, the herders, the armed herders even shot at him at a point. I was covering the state. I was with him when he received that shock. Now, when Otom came, who succeeded Suswan, he also faced this kind of thing. And our own, what is happening now compared to what happened at that time is even, we are not saying we expect more to come.
All right.
But we are saying the magnitude has not even reached up to that. Yet the governor is doing whatever he thinks he will do to ensure that people are protected. Yet some people are not bothered about trying to join hands with him. They are bothered about calling for state of emergency. So it's unfortunate.
Mr. Tersoo, it's a great place to leave the conversation. But above all, it's important to say that what is happening in Benue State is quite unfortunate. I mean, Nigerians cannot continue to die like they do not have the rights institutions to protect them. But I just hope that as quickly as possible, government swings into action and these people are flushed out. Thank you so much for speaking with us. I sincerely appreciate it. I've been speaking with Tersoo Kula, the Chief Press Secretary to Benue State Governor. Thank you so much for your time with us. Please have a great weekend.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
And thank you very much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. Meanwhile, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at midnight. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TV.